They thought you'd stay broken until you became the lesson they can't recover from. Let that sink in, because this isn't one of those weak, watered-down, just go silent and manifest them back videos. No, my friend, this isn't for emotional children. This isn't for the ones still texting, still hoping, still making excuses for someone who disrespected their soul. This is for those chosen by the universe to break the pattern, to rise, to become unforgettable without saying a word. You were loyal, real, forgiving. You gave your heart with both hands. And they used it like a vending machine. Press a button, get affection, go cold for a week, come back and still find you warm, lie to your face, and you still answered at midnight. And through all of it, you thought, maybe if I love harder, they'll love me better. But they didn't. They loved the control. They loved watching you shrink. But now you don't shrink. You don't scream. You don't even explain. You shift. You vanish. Not in silence, in power. You walk like someone who finally got the message the universe has been screaming at you since day one. You're not here to beg for crumbs. You're here to build an empire. And oh, how dare you say you can't choose yourself over them. You, the one the universe has been trying to wake up. You, the one who's been getting sign after sign, repeated numbers, dreams, gut feelings, pain that keeps recycling because you refuse to let go of what's poisoning you. The universe isn't punishing you, it's positioning you. And now it's delivered you this very message, this exact moment, this exact script, to remind you were never meant to stay stuck here. You say you want them to regret losing you. Then let the universe handle that part, because it will. Trust me, when you step into your power and stop feeding the illusion, the universe goes to work. Their spirit starts shaking. They start feeling what they don't understand. They start spiraling over your absence, not because you begged, but because you disappeared from their frequency entirely. So no, you're not just being silent. You're glowing in alignment. You're becoming a version of yourself they couldn't reach, even if they tried. That's not ego, that's divine protection. That's sacred detachment. That's how the universe reclaims its own. So write this in the comments right now. I choose sacred detachment. Say it for the part of you that's tired of trying. Say it for your ancestors, your spirit, your future self. Smash that like button if you're done being someone's emotional crash pad. Subscribe if you're ready to move into the life the universe has been holding for you all along. And stay with me, because what I'm about to show you next is the exact energetic shift that flips their nervous system inside out. The one that doesn't just make them miss you, it makes them question everything they ever thought about love. Number 1. The power of not explaining. You didn't walk away mad, you walked away mysterious, and that's what keeps them up at night. They were prepared for your meltdown. They were expecting the long texts, the voice notes, the dramatic goodbye. That's the version of you they were used to, the one who explained every emotion, justified every boundary, apologized just for having feelings. But this time, you gave them something far more terrifying than anger. Nothing. No tears, no begging, no breakdown, just stillness. Cold, clean, unexplained stillness. And now? Their ego doesn't know what to do with your peace because it can't control what it can't decode. This isn't about going quiet. This is about making them sit in a silence they never expected from you. You used to over-explain your pain to someone who only heard what served their comfort. You used to repeat yourself like your feelings were some unsolved puzzle, hoping that one day they'd finally get it. But let's tell the truth. They always got it. They just didn't care. They cared more about their own ease than your emotional safety. And when you kept trying to explain your heart to someone who treated you like a doormat, you trained them to see your pain as background noise. So when you finally stopped, when you didn't react, didn't explain, didn't justify. It wasn't silence. It was a full-blown psychological blackout. Now they're in the dark, pacing, not because they love you, but because the puppet stopped dancing, and they never learned how to cope with not being in control. That's the shift. You're no longer explaining your soul to someone who couldn't hold eye contact with their own reflection. You're no longer trying to teach empathy to someone who only knows how to take. And yet, I know, this isn't easy. You're scared, too. Scared they'll forget you. Scared you'll look cold. Scared they'll spin the story and make you the villain. But let me say this with love and fire. You are not the villain for protecting your soul from someone who used it like a trash bin for their emotional waste. You were never the one who caused the damage. You were just the one who kept forgiving it. That ends now. This is where you unlearn the need to prove your worth to someone who only ever saw your loyalty as leverage. You are not here to keep explaining why basic decency matters. You are not here to teach someone how to hold what they never deserved in the first place. Let them obsess. Let them wonder. Let them scroll through your photos at 2 a.m., trying to figure out how you slipped through their fingers. The version of you they ignored, the one who used to fight for them, is gone. And now they're haunted by the quiet. Not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't. Because they were prepared for everything except your evolution. Write this in the comments right now. I don't explain anymore. Say it with fire. Say it for the part of you that used to beg to be seen. Say it for every time you cried after sending a message that never got answered. Say it to remind yourself. You owe no one an explanation for choosing peace over chaos. Hit that like button if you're done being emotionally available to people who weaponized your love. Subscribe if you're ready to become the version of yourself who never needs to explain why they left, because their glow says it all. And stay with me, because next I'm going to show you exactly how to upgrade your energy so deeply that they don't just miss you, they mourn the version of you they'll never meet again. Number 2, change your environment, not your status. They don't need to see your caption to feel your evolution. You don't need to update your relationship status. You don't need to post deep quotes or sad playlists. You don't need to drop hints or try to make anyone jealous. That's childish energy. That's what they expect you to do. Perform your pain online like you're still trying to prove a point. But the most dangerous transformation? It doesn't announce itself. It just moves differently. And when you move different, they feel it, even if they don't understand what changed. That's the secret they don't teach you in heartbreak school. It's not about broadcasting your healing. It's about becoming the healing. You don't have to post about your glow-up. You embody it. You don't scream, "I'm moving on." You just start moving in places they can't follow. You step out of that stale environment, off that digital leash, out of that energetic prison they kept you in, and you let the new version of you breathe. New city, new friends, new gym, new energy. You leave the story behind. You don't update it. You close the damn book. Because let's be honest, most people don't want healing. They want attention. They want to look like they're evolving without having to actually let go. They want the glow without the grind. But the real shift? It happens off the screen. It happens when you stop walking down the same street expecting new love to meet you at the corner of your old wounds. And maybe that means you stop going to the places where you always saw them. Maybe that means cutting ties with mutual friends. Maybe it means deleting that playlist. And maybe, just maybe, it means leaving the city where you became their shadow. And yes, they'll notice. Even if you don't tag a location, they'll feel the absence of your energy. Because your energy was their supply, your availability, your sweetness, your soft check-ins, all of it. It made them feel powerful. And now, it's gone. And even if you say nothing, do nothing, explain nothing, they know you've shifted, because the access has been revoked. That's why this isn't about changing your relationship status. That's a performance. This is about changing your energetic positioning. Changing your environment is the first move that tells the universe, I'm not waiting anymore. I'm not hoping anymore. I'm done begging for clarity from someone who feeds off confusion. And guess what? That energy, that deep shift, it speaks louder than any sad post ever could, because they might not know where you are, but they know you're not where they left you. So let them stalk. Let them wonder why you're suddenly glowing. Let them try to piece together the clues while you go build the next chapter in peace. Because the truth is, the old you didn't die for nothing. You're not just healing, you're upgrading, you're relocating your soul, and they'll feel that from across 1,000 miles, because evolution makes noise, even when you say nothing. Write this in the comments right now. I evolve in silence. Say it like a promise. Say it for the part of you that stayed stuck for too long in places that couldn't hold your worth. Like this video if you've decided your peace is no longer negotiable. Subscribe if you're done performing pain for people who never cared in the first place. And stay with me, because in the next section, I'll show you how to use absence like a mirror, the kind that shows them who they really are when you're no longer around to reflect their ego. Number 3, trigger them with absence. Your silence becomes the mirror they can't escape. You're not being cold, you're not being petty, you're just gone, emotionally gone, energetically gone, spiritually unavailable. And that absence, that empty space where your energy used to be, it becomes the most uncomfortable mirror they've ever looked into, because it reflects everything they tried to avoid. No replies, no reactions, no presence, just a gaping hole where your loyalty used to live. And that silence, it screams one thing. You don't live here anymore. They thought you'd be waiting. They thought after all the games, all the betrayals, all the emotional warfare they played, that you'd still be there. That maybe you'd be hurt, maybe you'd cry, but eventually you'd reach out. They underestimated your final form. Because when someone has drained every part of your soul, there comes a moment when you don't just stop responding. You stop existing in their reality. That's not revenge. That's survival. That's sacred detachment. And here's what they'll never say out loud. It's driving them insane. Because when you were reacting, they felt in control. When you were hurt, they felt powerful. But now you're just not there. No response to their breadcrumbs. No energy for their drama. No presence in their world. It's not just that you're gone, it's that you're unreachable. And that kind of absence, that breaks people in ways they can't explain, because your energy wasn't normal, it wasn't casual, it was healing, grounding, addictive. And now, without it, their world feels distorted, and they'll try to replace it, try to distract themselves, try to post like they're living. But nothing hits the same. Nothing calms their spirit the way your energy did. That's when they spiral. That's when they start checking your page, looking for signs of you. That's when your absence becomes their obsession. But don't you dare mistake that obsession for love. They're not in love with you. They're in love with the access you used to give them. They're addicted to the attention, to the ego boost, to the emotional labor you poured into them. And now that it's gone, now that you've walked away without the performance, without the explanation, without begging, it's burning them from the inside. So let them feel it. Let them panic. Let them stare into the space you left behind and finally see themselves for who they are. Not the version you tried to heal, but the truth they refused to face. Because you were never the problem. Your love was not too much. Their self-worth was too little. Write this in the comments right now. I let my absence speak. Say it with conviction. Say it for every time you over-explained yourself to someone who never deserved the explanation. Like this video if you're done trying to be understood by people who only understand control. Subscribe if you're choosing your peace over their chaos. And stay with me, because in the next section, I'll show you how to weaponize indifference in a way that makes even their pride beg for your attention again. Number 4. Weaponize indifference. Nothing breaks the ego like being invisible to someone who once adored you. Here's where the shift gets surgical. You don't block them. You don't curse them out. You don't even act cold. No, you stay polite. You stay composed. But you're distant, detached, unavailable. They text? You reply 3 hours later with a neutral one-liner. They call? You let it ring, then send a, "Sorry, just saw this" the next day. You're not being rude. You're just done bleeding for people who handed you the knife. That contrast is what haunts them, because once upon a time, you were all heart, all presence, all in. You gave your time, your attention, your soul, and they soaked it up like it was owed to them. But now, you treat them like a stranger, a polite stranger, and that subtle indifference, it's not just painful, it's devastating, because it tells them exactly what they don't want to hear. You're no longer emotionally available to them. And you don't even need to say it out loud. This is when they spiral. Because their power wasn't in the connection, it was in your reaction. They got high off your devotion, your softness, your effort. And now they feel powerless. You're there, but not really. You're calm, collected, unmoved. They can't read you. And that unknown starts eating away at their pride. How did I lose them? Why don't they care anymore? Who are they talking to now? That's the trap. That's the mirror. That's the collapse of their illusion of control. And don't lie to yourself. This is where it gets hard. You'll want to give them a reaction. You'll want to explain why you've changed. Don't. Hold the line. Let indifference do what words never could. You're not being fake. You're protecting your soul. You're not being distant. You're being selective, and they're no longer on the guest list. Write this in the comments. I mastered indifference. Say it with power. Say it for every time you lost yourself trying to make someone feel seen. Like this video if you're done handing out your energy like candy. Subscribe if you're ready to let your peace disturb the people who took it for granted. And stay with me, because next, we're going even deeper. We're going to talk about the glow-up they can't unsee, and why your evolution is about to become their punishment. Number 5. The glow-up they can't unsee. You didn't glow up to get them back. You glowed up to never look back. This isn't a revenge body. This is a resurrection, a spiritual rebirth, a full-blown energetic recalibration. You don't glow up to make them miss you. You glow up because you finally remembered who the hell you are. You're not dieting to make them jealous. You're rebuilding your temple. You're not working out for compliments. You're sharpening the blade. You're not reading self-help books just to post quotes. You're upgrading your operating system. And suddenly, they see you everywhere. You're the one that got away and evolved. You're showing up in their dreams, in the songs they used to play for you, in the outfits they once saw on your floor. You're the memory that got hotter, smarter, more successful without them. You're the vision they can't unsee. Because let's be honest, they thought you'd crumble. They thought the pain would destroy you. They thought you'd go quiet, fade out, get bitter, stay broken. But instead, you disappeared and came back unrecognizable, polished, magnetic, protected. That glow-up wasn't for show. It wasn't performative. It was divine. The universe said, "You ready now?" And you answered. You said yes to becoming the version of yourself they were too insecure to love properly. You said yes to rising above every toxic narrative they planted in your mind. You said yes to healing without making a scene. And now, Now they're the ones choking on the very silence they thought would break you. Here's the catch. They'll never tell you, never message you the truth, never admit they're stalking your page. But deep down, you've become the standard, the one they compare every new person to, and nobody's measuring up. Not because you're flawless, but because you left with grace and came back with glory. So write this in the comments right now. I glow up for me. Say it for every time you made someone else the center of your universe. Say it like a prophecy. Like this video if you're stepping into your divine evolution. Subscribe if you're ready to become unreachable to anyone who ever doubted you. And stay with me, because next we're going to talk about what happens when you become a mystery, and how that unknown becomes their torment. Number 6. The delayed regret effect. Regret doesn't show up in the moment. It creeps in like a ghost weeks later. You want to know why they looked fine at first? Why they walked away smiling, posting, laughing with someone new, acting like you were just a phase? Because in the beginning, they always feel free. They confuse disconnection with power. They think, I can leave them. They won't do anything. They'll be there if I ever come back. That's how users think. That's how emotional parasites survive, by assuming their supply will always be waiting. But what they don't account for is the delayed regret effect. It doesn't hit right away. It creeps in, quiet, like a shadow, like a ghost. And the longer you stay gone, the more it tightens around them. At first, they're numb, arrogant, entertained. They've got distractions. Their ego's still high off the idea that they won something by walking away. They might even flaunt it, post cryptic captions, try to trigger you with photos, pretend they're glowing. But when the dust settles, when the silence becomes normal, not tactical, and your energy doesn't return, that's when the storm comes. See, at first, they think they left you. But as the days stretch and you remain gone, they start realizing you left them right back. Not with words, not with anger, not with bitterness, but with distance. They can't close anymore. That's when the panic creeps in. Because now it's not about attention. It's about access. And suddenly, you're not reachable. Not energetically, not emotionally, not physically. They start checking for signs, watching your stories, asking mutual friends, all while pretending they're not bothered. But inside, they're losing it. Why? Because your absence became a mirror, and it's showing them everything they destroyed, everything they misused, everything they thought they'd never lose. They thought you were an option. But now they realize you were a one-time offer, a soul-deep connection with someone who genuinely cared. And now, they don't know how to live without it. They scroll your page and their chest tightens. They hear a song and get nauseous. They see a photo and feel physically cold. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because they never expected the day would come where you didn't care anymore. This is not about revenge. This is about reality. The kind of reality that hits people weeks later, when the illusion wears off. That's what regret is. Delayed grief for a choice they thought they could undo. But you're no longer there to be undone. You've moved, evolved, glowed up, changed your frequency. And now they're stuck on a loop with a version of you that doesn't exist anymore. Let them spiral. Let them suffer in silence like you once did. Let them sit in the silence they used to weaponize against you and realize too late that you weren't the one who needed them. They needed you. And now, your absence is the punishment, the one they earned with every breadcrumb, every lie, every fake apology. Write this in the comments right now. Let regret find them. Say it for every time you cried in silence while they lived loud. Say it for every moment you waited for an apology that never came. Like this video if you've made peace with letting people feel what they gave you. Subscribe if you're ready to be the one who no longer needs closure, because your absence says it all. And stay with me, because in the next section, I'll show you how your rebirth becomes the legend they whisper about, but never admit out loud. Number 7. Let them approach first, and do nothing. The version of you they ignored no longer exists. Let's make something crystal clear. When you shift into your power, when you glow up without begging, when you finally become untouchable, they always come back. Not because they're healed, not because they've suddenly grown, but because they can't recognize the new silence, the new standards, the new soul that doesn't orbit around them anymore. They reach out. They always do. A text, a DM, a fake check-in. Hey, just thinking of you. Hope you're doing okay. Maybe even an apology, half-hearted and late. But here's the twist. They're not checking in on you. They're checking if they still own you. They're trying to see if that old version of you, the one they ignored, breadcrumbed, manipulated, gaslit, is still available. And your job, my friend, is simple. Do nothing. Not cold, not fake, just unbothered. You don't jump. You don't rush to respond. You don't open the door to chaos just because it knocks softly now, because here's the part they don't expect. The version of you they knew is gone. And now, when they call, they're not talking to the same person. They're talking to someone evolved, someone who doesn't need closure, someone who doesn't need to explain anymore, someone who doesn't seek approval from the very person who discarded them. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine walking into a luxury store. No sales signs, no screaming ads, no one begging you to come in. Just presence, just elegance, just value. That's you now. You don't chase, you don't advertise your worth. You embody it. And when they walk back into your life thinking they can browse, they find out quickly, this version isn't for sale. Some of you are thinking, but if they reach out, doesn't that mean they care? Let me hit you with a hard truth. Caring isn't the same as changing. A snake can shed its skin and still be a snake. Just because they miss you doesn't mean they're good for you. Just because they reach out doesn't mean they deserve a response. And just because they regret losing you doesn't mean they're ready to honor what they lost. Another example. Ever notice how the moment you finally move on, not fake move on, but real healing, energy shifted, leveled up move on, they sense it? It's like the universe sends a signal out. You've been released. And boom! Here they come. Suddenly curious. Suddenly available. But they're not drawn to your heart. They're drawn to your energy upgrade. And they hate that it no longer includes them. That's the test. Can you stay still? Can you watch them crawl back and not reach down to rescue them from the hole they dug for themselves? Can you hold your peace when they throw the bait? Because trust me, they will. They'll say all the right things. They'll mirror your growth. They'll hint at the future. And every word will be dripping with nostalgia. Not because they love you, but because they're drowning in the absence of the old supply. But here's your power. You don't owe them a reaction. You can respond, or you can say nothing. You can smile, nod, and never invite them back into the temple they vandalized. You can bless them with silence, not as punishment, but as a statement. You don't belong here anymore. And the most soul-rattling moment for them? It's not when you block them. It's when you don't care enough to block them anymore. When you don't argue, when you don't explain, when you respond with peace, detachment, or nothing at all, because your healing isn't a performance, and your new life doesn't require their understanding. Let me tell you what real power is. It's not being the loudest. It's not the clapbacks. It's not the flex. It's when they finally gather the courage to reach out, and you don't even flinch. You don't punish them, you don't shame them, you just don't need them anymore. That's when they finally understand the weight of what they lost, not when you left, but when you stopped needing to be seen. Write this in the comments right now. I don't chase. I choose peace. Say it for every time you reached out, hoping for change, and got crumbs instead. Say it for the version of you that begged for closure and got ignored. Say it like a boundary, like a weapon, like freedom. Like this video if you've ever had to sit in the silence wondering if you'd hear from them again, and now you realize you don't even want to anymore. Subscribe if you're ready to become the one they'll never stop remembering, but never get access to again. And stay with me, because in the final section, I'll show you what happens when you don't just let go, but become unreachable, not out of spite, but because the universe evolved you out of their frequency forever. Number 8. The final move. Live like they never existed. They became your past the moment you stopped needing to be understood. This is it. This is the final move. And no, it's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's not a closing speech or a savage caption, it's not the revenge outfit or the thirst trap you think will make them spiral, it's not even silence anymore, it's erasure. You stop living like they ever existed. You reclaim your timeline, your future, your identity. Because the truth is, if they didn't know how to treat you right when you were right in front of them, then they don't deserve a seat in your memory either. You win when you no longer need to be seen by them, when you don't care if they ever realize what they lost, when you don't care if they finally get it, when you don't keep hoping for the apology, when your happiness isn't a show for them to watch. It's a lifestyle you live, whether they're watching or not. There's a moment in every transformation where you realize you're not doing this for closure anymore. You're not glowing up to prove anything. You're not healing to be chosen. You're not even angry. You're just done. And that's when the detachment becomes real. That's when you truly cut the spiritual cord. You stop performing your pain. You stop curating your feed for their eyes. You stop wondering what they'd think if they saw you now. Because guess what? They don't matter anymore. That's what full detachment looks like. You don't avoid their name. You don't even flinch when you hear it. You don't check their profile. You don't bring them up in conversations. You don't mentally replay what you could have said or done differently. You've stopped running simulations in your head. You've stopped needing to win. You already did, by walking away with your dignity intact, by healing in private, by not making your recovery a marketing campaign. Here's a metaphor. Imagine walking through a museum. You pass by thousands of paintings, some beautiful, some forgettable, and then there's one that catches your eye, but not because it's a masterpiece. It's messy, chaotic, dark. You look at it for a moment, feel something, and then move on. That's them. A chapter, not your story. A brushstroke, not your canvas. So many people lose their power at this stage because they want to prove they've moved on, and by trying to prove it, they show they haven't. Real healing isn't loud. It's not flashy. It's not, look at me now. It's living well, like they never existed in the first place. And here's the kicker. That's what hits them the hardest. You think dragging them online, shading them in quotes, flexing your new life will teach them a lesson? Number. That just tells them they still have emotional power over you. But when you go quiet, when you live in joy, peace, purpose, and they're not even a footnote in your narrative anymore, that's what wrecks them. Because now, they're not even the villain. They're irrelevant. And for someone whose ego fed on control, that's spiritual death. They don't get to be part of your story anymore, not even as the person who hurt you the most. They're not special enough for that title. They were just a mirror, reflecting what you still had to heal. And now that you've done that, they've served their purpose. And you? You've ascended. You live fully. You build a new world with your name on it. You write new pages without checking if they're watching. You laugh harder. You love deeper. You make decisions without wondering if they'd approve. And the life you create, that becomes the lesson. Not the clapback, not the confrontation, just peace, radiant, expansive, untouchable peace. That's what scares them. That's what haunts them, that they lost access to the most real version of love they ever had. And that person now walks this earth like they never knew them. They see your name, and their stomach drops. They hear your laugh in someone else's story, and it stings. Not because you're trying to hurt them, but because you're no longer carrying their shadow. So no, you don't need to block them out of spite. You don't need to post about moving on. You don't need to wish them well or curse their name. You just stop participating. And trust me, that void, that silence, that erasure, it will echo through them louder than any words you could have said. Write this in the comments right now. I live like they never existed. Say it for your future. Say it for the version of you that cried quietly so many nights. Say it as a spell, as a sword, as a boundary the universe will protect. Like this video if you're ready to make your life the closure. Subscribe if you're done recycling lessons with people who were never meant to hold your forever. Thank you for staying with me through this video, because the truth is, they didn't break you, they activated you. And now, you're not just healed, you're untouchable. You don't beg, you don't chase, you don't explain. You evolve in silence, with power, on purpose. And now they feel what they never expected, your absence as a consequence. If this video hit your soul, smash that like button, subscribe for more dark Stoic wisdom, and share this with someone who's rising silently, just like you. Drop this in the comments. I'm untouchable now. Let the world feel it.